In December of 2025, Leslie started writing a YouTube video. It took 5 months of writing, editing, and accidentally leaving the autofocus on before finally it was finished. This is that video. I watch anime. I wouldn't call myself a weeb or anything, I just happen to like animation as a medium. That being said, I won't deny that I probably watch more than the average person, given that the average person watches 0 a year and I've watched at least 10. I want to talk about some really good stuff I've seen this year, if for no other reason than to convince you that I have taste. And maybe I could even put something on your radar. Before we begin though, I should probably create some kind of facsimile of me for you to look at for this video. I think they're calling it a rant sona these days. It helps what I'm saying feel like it's coming from a person and not a disembodied voice, so let me just draw one real quick. Yeah, you know what, this'll do. One quick disclaimer before we start. This is a Leslie's 2025 video, not an actual 2025 anime list. There was some incredible stuff I watched this year that's old news, and I also kind of missed out on some good stuff this year that I'm definitely gonna get to later, but I can't include because I haven't seen it yet. So let's go through some of those right now.
So what did I miss? What did I miss?
City the Animation is the Nichijou second season that we all wished for, and from what I hear, it's really good. Nichijou has always had a special place in my heart because it was one of the first anime I ever watched, and I was really excited to hear that City was getting an adaptation because I'd never read it, but then I never got around to watching it over the last few months. But as soon as this video is done, I'm watching it, I promise. Turkey is this bowling anime I've had my eye on since last year. I saw the description for it on my anime list or something, and I knew immediately that it was something I had to watch. Maybe it's hilarious, like I suspect it is. Maybe it's the most abysmal dog shit ever conceived. I don't know. I haven't seen it yet. Kaiju number 8, Sakamoto Days, and Solo Leveling have made waves in the shonen sphere since their releases, and all had second seasons this year. All 3 of them have piqued my interest for different reasons, but I had more than enough shonen to appetize me this year, so I'll get to these when I get to them. The Fragrant Flower Blooms with Dignity, I actually read the manga of months before the anime came out. I really liked the romance between the 2 main characters because, well, kind of spoilers, the 2 get together pretty fast, all things considered, and the story focuses on their time as a couple rather than the will they won't they confession stuff. At least that's what it seemed like. I'm only 60 something chapters in. Romance isn't normally my cup of tea for reasons, but the fact that I like this series should be enough of an endorsement that it's pretty good at what it does. Why haven't I gotten around to watching the anime yet? Well, I'm not a big rewatcher, and I already know the story, so I haven't felt the urge to watch it yet. Maybe that'll change in the future, but I can still recommend it nonetheless. And finally, Love Live Nijigasaki Final Chapter Part 2 is my most anticipated film of the year, but it's not on streaming yet. And I don't live in Japan. And I don't speak Japanese either, so I would need to wait for a translation anyway. Yay! And with those out of the way, let's not waste any more time. Getting into the Honourable Mentions! Yeah, that's right. I've got Honourable Mentions before the top 10 list. I know they usually do this before number 1, but that never made sense to me. So, fuck it. I'll do it. This is my list. I'll do what I want. Mentions. Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works is the most recent watch of mine. Unfortunately, I haven't finished it as I'm making this video, but I think the fights are striking and really well done. What I just have to mention is that the story keeps taking twists in directions I wasn't expecting at all. I usually feel like I can get a good sense of where a story's going, but I have literally no clue how this show is going to end. I feel like they could do anything. It's a bit sad that I can't rate it because of that, but hey, there had to be a show that got unlucky for this video. It just happened to be this one. Edit, I'm adding in the video. I just got done watching Season 2, Episode 6. What the fuck? The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya is a classic that I'm glad I watched, even if it's a little rough around the edges. I guess the best way to describe it would be a slice of life. There's mystery elements, but only for a little bit before the show becomes the gang just going around and doing whatever. This is because the episode order is really weird. There's like 4 different orders you can watch the episodes in, and they're all drastically different from one another, so there's no such thing as pacing. It's still a fun watch, but unfortunately loses out on making the top 10 because of that arc. You know the one. Call of the Night is the anime that you've definitely heard the OP to, but maybe haven't checked out yet. I can't explain why I like this anime so much. I mean, all it's got going for it is incredibly stylized colors and visuals, a banging soundtrack, and an aromantic main character that has trouble sleeping at night due to dissatisfaction with his life. Yeah, I don't know. Love Live Nijigasaki Final Chapter Part 1 is next. I may not have been able to watch the second, but I did watch the first, and it was okay. There's nothing wrong with this movie. It's got good music, and it's fun to see the characters doing things, but that's it. The story's fine, it just didn't interest me, and if I'm being honest, I'm only still watching this series because I've formed a strong personal bond with some of the characters. Maybe if it had Mia or Karin in it, it would have been a good movie. And finally, Violet Evergarden is a beautiful gem that tells a super compelling story. You can tell it's made by KyoAni because everything is super shiny for no reason, but it looks gorgeous, so who am I to complain? It's sort of a bittersweet story. Really sad, but also optimistic at the same time. You'd have to watch it to fully get what I mean, but it is incredible. The only reason it isn't making the top 10 is because it got outperformed. Yeah, that's how good this year was for me. Violet Evergarden didn't make the top 10. And now with those also out of the way, let's actually do the top 10.
'Cause I'm a wanderer, yeah, a wanderer. I roam around.
女の子ってなんでできてる？
And that's right, we're starting the list with something you've never even heard of. Wandering Sun is a story about a boy who wants to be a girl, and a girl who wants to be a boy. From that description, you're probably thinking that this is a story about transgender people, and that's the thing. Yes, there are transgender characters in the story, but I think it has a lot more to say about gender as an expressive tool, and how difficult the exploration of gender is as a child. There are characters who I don't read as trans, but who express their gender in abnormal ways, and there are characters who are unsatisfied with themselves. And while all of it could point to the trans flag, I find it less important the exact identities of these characters and more the struggles they face in the story. The 2 characters who I think are undoubtedly trans, Nitori and Takatsuki, share problems like wanting to dress as the other gender, not liking their body, being envious of the other gender, the classics. I don't think their struggle is being trans, though. I think being trans is the conclusion they reach to all the other struggles in their life. Does that make sense? Hopefully. I found myself particularly moved by Nitori. Her story really hit me close to home, and a lot of the stuff she feels are stuff I vividly remember feeling when I was a young one. For those new here, hi, I'm Leslie. I'm trans. I'd consider myself a woman on most days, but I still don't find that's a perfect fit for me. Regardless, I have been through the trans kid experience, and no spoilers, but there are many things Nitori says and does that I swear are almost verbatim from my personal diary. It wouldn't be fair of me, though, if I didn't speak on the parts that I don't personally relate to. The show has garnered a bit of criticism for how the trans guy Takatsuki was written. I remember when I was watching, I found him to be a character I didn't quite understand. But since I don't have that experience, I assumed maybe I was just out of the loop or reading things wrong, that maybe there was something to him I wasn't seeing. But with hindsight, maybe it really was just written awkwardly. I'm not going to dwell on it because the rest of the show I was in love with, but it is worth mentioning. Regardless, if you are trans, or are at all interested in the trans experience, I would heartily recommend this show. I think you'll get something out of it, even if you don't personally relate.
Spider-Man does whatever a spider can.
You know what I love? World building. It's a tough thing to do in a story, especially since the more you world build, the more you have to keep track of as a writer, and the slower the process can become as you desperately try not to trip over your own writing and accidentally create a massive plot hole. Speaking from experience. And a series that I think has good world building is My Hero Academia. It's a series with striking character designs, and world building always seems to be one step ahead of you, frequently calling back to past points in the story that you probably forgot about. One slight issue, though. MHA has way too many characters. It's probably the most common complaint about the series. With how big the cast is, it's hard to dedicate time to expanding all of them, so what you're left with are a lot of characters that look really cool and interesting, and are really cool and interesting, but narratively serve a really minor purpose in the story. And that's where My Hero Academia Vigilantes comes in, the prequel series I thought was good enough to make the top 10, because yeah, it really was that good. As previously mentioned, it is a great way to provide time to characters that sadly don't get much in the main story, something that will be very apparent in the upcoming season 2. I can't undersell how fun of a novelty it is getting to see a character that you recognize from the main series and go, "Yo, I love that guy!" But ultimately, that's all just the icing on the cake of what Vigilantes is really about. The main focus is on 3 brand new characters, so are they any good? Oh, you bet your ass they are! While the main series focuses on big superheroes and big supervillains, Vigilantes explores the topic of, you guessed it, vigilante justice. The main trio aren't licensed heroes. They don't work to uphold the justice of a government, they create their own justice and act independently. The show uses this to segue into commentary on the ethics of superheroism, something the main series could have done with a bit more of. Koichi has big shoes to fill, being a protagonist in the same canon as Deku, but I think he manages. He's definitely got a lot of similar characteristics to Deku, so if you like one, you'll like both. But I think what sets Koichi apart is that he kinda sucks at being a hero. Look, that sounds mean, but while Deku is a fairly competent underdog, there's something super endearing about someone who doesn't know what the fuck he's doing, immediately leaping to someone's aid. The small boy levels are off the charts with this guy. And while I could go into more on Popstep and Knuckle Duster, you're really just going to want to watch the show for that. But trust me, the final episode had me crying, and it has only been 1 season with these characters. If you want to know when in the series you should watch this, I would recommend watching seasons 1 to 3 of MHA first, so you can properly appreciate the returning characters. But you can totally jump into Vigilantes as your first exposure to the series if that's what you really want. If the main series seems too hefty of a commitment, maybe you can use this to dip your toes into the world. And if you're a fan of MHA and you haven't watched Vigilantes yet, you are majorly missing out. It's got Prime All Might in it, man. Prime All Might. Keep Your Hands Off Eizouken is about cute girls doing cute things. Now, that's something many of us would be familiar with. But throw in some lessons about animation and a behind-the-scenes look at what creating anime is actually like, and my interest has fully peaked. The premise of the show is quite simple to explain, really. 3 girls want to make anime, so they set up an anime club in their school, and then they make anime. That's it. Okay, well no, that's not it. But if you liked what I said just now, you've probably already added it to your list, so I don't need to say anymore. What I will say though is that this anime reminded me about the power of passion. The characters have an infectious level of passion for their craft, and you can really see that in how naturally creative they are. Even though the world we live in right now is a capitalist hellscape and large corporations have almost entirely succeeded at monetizing the production of art at an extortionate rate, it's a little comforting to remember that the people who actually work on this shit still pour a lot of their soul and personality into their work. And that's something to be appreciated. In the current times, anime discourse is thriving. Not only because of an influx of new viewership that's been snowballing ever since COVID, but also because all of the social media platforms are promoting posts that farm engagement, rage bait, and hateful speech even more than they already did. You'll find no shortage of Twitter power scalers arguing over canon feats, die-hard shippers eating each other alive, obscene amounts of racism, homophobia, and transphobia, etc., etc. Animation quality is a topic that's often brought up, but I feel that discussions around animation quality tend to view it as like a slider. Like, you can turn the animation quality up or down, and the higher up you turn it, the better it is. I don't think it's harmful to generalize in this way, but it's definitely not a helpful framework for a discussion because it lacks all nuance. There are a lot of different things that go into animation. Outside of common talking points like resolution or frame rate, you've got things like fluidity of movement, usage of color, consistency in a style, and there's not even a good version of any of these things. Like, there's no good color usage you can judge something by. Every decision that an animator makes is entirely context dependent and subjective. And that's just a handful of visual components. That's not even getting into audio components like sound design and voice acting, or auxiliary components like marketing or creating a productive environment within your team, communicating with outside contractors and I realized that I've kind of gone off on a tangent about how underappreciated animation is. But that's what this show does. It gets you to think about all the different aspects of the process and how they affect the end result. I'd recommend it even if you think you've no interest, because you might just learn something about this medium that lets you enjoy it even more. And so you can prove yourself smarter than a Twitter user.
Loaded like a freight train, flying like an aeroplane.
Okay, super quick disclaimer for anyone familiar. I have not seen da 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 da. I know that Bakano shares a world with it, or something like that. I have plans to watch it later, but just know that for this section, I'm talking about Bakano on its own. The first thing I need to tell you about Bakano is that you simply must watch the English dub if you give it a try. I'm not a huge dub fan, but even I have to admit, this is one of the best I've ever heard. Everybody in the cast really settles into their roles and does a great job of bringing the characters to life. Even if you find things like the fake 1930s accents goofy, they add so much to the show's individuality that I kind of love them anyway.
Oh, thank you very much, sir. The Lord is sure to bless your actions. No doubt you will be very blessed,
Yeah, that old
sir.
pious when it suits you a bit. You should kick that to the curb, old timer.
And while on the subject of goofiness, this show is incredibly funny. Every one of the characters has their standout moments, but it's really seeing all of them interact and clash with each other that's the most fun.
Everyone down on the floor right now.
Hands in the air, all of you!
Everybody freeze. And whatever you do, don't move. But which one should we do?
Though comedy isn't all this show has going for it. That's definitely the basis I would recommend it on, but there's also a very satisfying mystery going on at the heart of the show, slowly unraveling. It's extremely gripping as every new episode, new revelations come to light and you understand more and more of what went down and, Okay, to get real for a sec, mysteries are hard to sell people on. I recognize that. Half of the appeal of the genre is not knowing what will come next. I can't sit here and tell you what this show is about and tell you what twists it has, because that would defeat the purpose of watching it for the mystery. But what I can sell you on is the timeline, because Bakano isn't just telling the events of one incident. It's telling the events of multiple different incidents at once. The show is constantly swapping between the big present events unfolding on the train and past events that seemingly have no correlation to the present at all, but actually do.
Excuse me?
For carelessness, there is no excuse.
No excuse for carelessness.
And I thought that this would be hard to follow, but it really wasn't. I mean, props to whoever was in charge of the formatting, because it felt completely natural the whole way through. That's all I can say. Sorry, but please understand I am fighting the urge to completely spoil you on the main hook of the story, so I'm gonna cut myself off here. If you like mysteries and comedy, believe me, this is for you.
We must be swift as the coursing river, with all the force of a great typhoon.
Windbreaker is a hot, new-ish shonen that really shakes up the formula. Get this, what if, instead of superpowered soldiers fighting for the fate of the world, we just have some guys throw hands in an alley? I'm kidding, but not really. It's surprisingly refreshing for a shonen to not have people's lives on the line. It makes the fights a lot more personal for the characters. They have a reason not to lose that isn't dying. And there's not even any mystical power system at play either. It's just a realistic fight. Well, exaggerated realism, but man is it cool. I'm impressed by how they managed to give the characters unique fighting styles even when limited to physical strengths. I thought that maybe it would get repetitive or each character would have like a signature move that they would do, but you can really feel the personality coming off of the way characters fight, and that's hard to do, so props to the animators. But even though this is a shonen, and the action is probably what the majority of people came for, the most interesting lens to analyze Windbreaker through in my eyes is masculinity. See, this is an anime for the boys, and you can tell that because there's only one woman in the main cast and she's the only one that doesn't do any fighting. That's not even an exaggeration. It's all good though, because while having no girls in your show is something I'd normally criticize, it makes a lot more sense when you see that what this show is really trying to get at under the surface is toxic masculinity. You may have just winced when I used that term, but I assure you, it is relevant here. Just give me a chance. It's no coincidence that this show is full of characters with more feminine or androgynous designs, because, well, number one, if you're making a show full of guys, you gotta give them some way to stand out from each other, but number two, because it shows visually that these characters aren't afraid to not be seen as traditionally masculine. Masculinity is often associated with power. It's something that's becoming outdated over time, but it's definitely still prevalent today. Men, and especially young boys, can fall victim to the idea that the reason your life sucks is because you aren't the alpha, or because you don't have a six-pack. Hell, that's basically what shonen anime is centered around. Some young boy on a quest to get strong. And that's the key word. Strength. Windbreaker breaks down the classic shonen protagonist goal of, oh, I must get stronger and fight the bad guys by myself. Because a running theme of Windbreaker is, what does it even mean to be strong? Sakura, the protagonist, believes that strength comes in how hard you can beat someone up. But he's wrong. At least, in part. Strength can mean a lot of different things. It's far more than just going to the gym. And by being around so many positive role models, Sakura is forced to question his viewpoint. Why are these guys stronger than me? Why does nobody else think like I do? And what will being the strongest even get me? And that's where I'll end my pitch. If that interests you, then check out Windbreaker. I think you'll really like it. Or just watch it for the action. It's really cool action. Anime sometimes asks questions we never thought needed answering. What would you do if you had a notebook that could kill people? What if you had that dog in you, but like in a bad way? What would happen if Satan worked at McDonald's. Is it wrong to pick up girls in a dungeon? What happens when a spy gets a family? Buddy Daddies is my number 5 pick, and look, I get it. You heard about this cute show where 2 undercover agents adopt a little girl through unfortunate circumstances and eventually grow to love each other and the sense of family they provide, and you thought, wait, isn't this just Spy Family? And kind of. Okay, so it's got a similar premise. I'm not going to deny that, but it really is its own thing. Spy Family is a comedy, first and foremost, but Buddy Daddies is about the characters and their arcs and their feelings. It's got jokes, but I wouldn't really call it a comedy. It focuses on parenthood and how difficult it is for these 2 guys who've only ever had to take care of themselves to suddenly have to deal with looking after a young child. Something Spy Family doesn't really do. But let me talk about the things I like this show for on its own. I'll start with the action because that's what most people in the anime sphere care about. This isn't in the action genre even slightly, but it does contain moments of action when the boys are on their missions, and I think it looks great. It's not super flashy, but I think that sells the no-nonsense agent vibe. Ray in particular is super satisfying to watch in action. I love how efficient his movement is. It really feels like he's taking his job seriously. We kind of discussed it earlier, but I think matching the tone and atmosphere is far more important to animation than the impact frames, and I think this show pulls off its look really well. The characters are super fun and endearing, and Miri is adorable, and I thought the story was great for just 12 episodes. I have an appreciation for short stories, in that I don't think a story has to be one piece and carry on forever to be good. You can do a lot with a little, and I like when a show knows what it wants to be and just does that. The show only has a handful of characters, but it manages to make each one feel very deep in the time they're given, and you really care for them by the end. There will never be a season 2 to this show. Anime originals rarely get sequels, and the story is over anyway, but I'm really happy with what the show gave me. Even if I would enjoy seeing these characters again, I'm glad that the story is over, and I think it would take something away if it were to continue. That might sound negative, but I promise it isn't. And lastly, I'm sorry to break your heart, but there is no gay sex scene. I know, I ship the main duo too, but this isn't that kind of show. Don't come to this show for the yaoi. Come for the heart-wrenching character arcs and heartwarming displays of the joy of parenthood. Then go to AO3. There's some really good stuff there.
I'm the trash man. I come out, I throw trash all over the ring.
Okay, I'm gonna go on a bit of a tangent for a sec, but stay with me because it will be very relevant. Splatoon is one of my favorite games of all time. I only got into the series on the 3rd installment, but I was there for the entire pre-release Splatfest, and I bought the game day 1 and played it for even more hours on top of that. Ever since then, the game has had a hold on me. All I could think about was Splatoon, partly because I'm autistic and I was in a hyperfixation deficit, but also because of what the game stood for. What I've always loved about Splatoon the most is how unique it is. It's something so boldly itself. It is undeniably the biggest push for gyro controls in a shooter game there's ever been, and it continues to push them to this day. Where a lot of players would think, oh, this control scheme is a gimmick, the confidence to double down and say, no, this is what I am, and this is why I am cool, even when the dice were stacked against it by being on the fucking Wii U, is admirable. This confidence is also reflected in the art style and the world. It's unlike any other, with a species of sentient squid people playing ink-based war sport that can submerge themselves in said ink and use recycled trash they find lying around to make weaponry. Can't believe it's never been done. Splatoon takes a bunch of different ideas, mashes them all together, and creates its own identity. This is felt especially in its music, which incorporates many different genres and takes inspiration from cultures all around the world. It's part of the reason why the game has cultivated such a diverse audience. I've always thought that a Splatoon anime would be really cool. The series is pretty big in Japan, and Nintendo's been dipping their toes into filmmaking recently, so... There's also a manga. It's not great, but maybe it could get an adaptation? I've been waiting patiently for a Splatoon anime, confident that it's an inevitability, and knowing that the day they announce it is just around the corner. That day has yet to arrive. But something has come along to take its place. Something that does everything I'd hoped a Splatoon anime would be, and more. Something that has that same confidence in itself. Something that takes inspiration from all sorts of cultures to create its own distinct identity. Its name is Gachiakata. This show is unique. Our main man, Rudo the Red Hot Reindeer, is going to destroy the upper class with the power of object personification.
I'm gonna find that mask-wearing creep! And beat his ass! So there's no way I'm dying until I've made them all pay!
Anger and hatred are the crux of this story, which is probably why everything is super grungy and metal. But also kind of punk, but also kind of a lot of other things. It's a blend, and I don't just mean musically. The visuals are switching up a lot, and the tone is all over the place when going from having so much fun in Trashland XD to the entirety of episode 13. This show wastes no time and pulls no punches. Prepare yourself, it gets pretty dark. To backtrack to the music for a second though, the soundtrack is fucking banging. Massive props to Taka Iwasaki and all of the guest artists. They bring the world to life more than I can describe with words. Outlaws Get No Entry gets me to dance every single time I hear it, and I know I'm not alone in that. The world feels big, which I would attribute to the diverse cast of characters. And I mean that in all definitions of diverse. This show has got representation for everyone. It's really refreshing to see this sort of thing in the anime space. And the show exudes an air of confidence about it that it isn't ashamed of these characters. I'll recommend you these videos if the topic interests you. They're very good. My favorite thing that this show does though, and it's a small thing, but it goes a long way, is the facial expressions. I have never seen facial expressions that convey such vivid emotion before, and I've seen a lot of anime. They're known for doing shit like that. Look at this! Have you ever seen an anime character make this face before? What about this one? They do this a lot, and I think it helps the show have quick jokes and quick comedic elements without having it distract from whatever's going on. There are other things I want to gush over, but I think I've reached the limit of how far I can go without spoilers. If you even slightly like shonen, if at all you were interested in any trailers or clips you saw online, give it a try. This will be the next big thing. Mark my words, this is the best new gen, modern shonen, whatever you want to call it. I promise you, this is going to be huge, because it's really good. And I cannot wait to watch it soar. I can point out exactly the moment I fell in love with Dandadan, and it was 2 minutes into the first episode. This walk cycle showed me that I was here to have fun. This one shot of Momo walking immediately tells us so much about her character, and they could have just reused the same walking animation from only 30 seconds ago. But they didn't. Because that wouldn't be any fun, would it? Fun is the key word here, because that's what I believe is at the core of Dandadan's identity. At the end of the day, we're just here to have fun. Every episode is something new, that's fun, a new enemy to fight, a new character to interact with, a new story, a new song, a fucking... Okay, fine. No spoilers, I'll move on. The fights are really fun. Every character that fights has their own colour, and whoever is dominating the space, their colour takes over, and the show is composed in monochrome. So when fighting a big dinosaur, the entire picture is green, for basically the entire episode. And it adds so much to the atmosphere you might not even notice. And it's not just static, either. You'll notice that some colours resist this effect, like Okarune's red when he uses his powers. And then when he fights, or uses a big move, his red fights for control of the composition, with the shot flashing red for a moment. My favourite use of this kind of thing is right here, when Okarune's taking a breather and suddenly the entire shot becomes purple. And then this big guy walks into frame and a fight starts. That's such a cool way to give a character an entrance. They've refined the art of aura farming so much that seeing a colour is enough to terrify you. And the characters are super fun. There's obviously the developing romance between our two leads, which is great, but all of the characters bounce off each other so well that it's always a blast whatever they're doing together. My favourite scene of the entire show is actually just a scene where everyone's talking with each other. The dialogue flows so naturally, even with multiple different conversations happening at once, and characters doing funny shit in the background. And to give extra credit, this show has incredible continuity. Everything fun that it does is here to stay. It's not like they're just constantly bringing in new concepts and then dropping them to move on to something else. No, every character that appears is part of the world now. They will continue to exist in the story and be referenced later in the future. Hell, they might show up at a pivotal moment. And they introduce something new every other episode. This is a bold move, and maybe the show will lose this once we're a few seasons in, but for now, I am hooked, with a capital H. There's only one nitpick I could give to Dandadan, and that's that the first episode is the most difficult to get through. I haven't even told you yet that the main driving force of this story is that aliens are trying to get this guy's dick, but it got stolen by a ghost. No, I'm not kidding. This kind of content will understandably turn a lot of people away from the series. But if you can get through that, you are in for a whale of a time. So that's Dandadan. It's really fun, and you will never predict what it's going to do next. I give it an A+. A lot of people would give it an F, but just remember, F is for friends who do stuff together. U is for you and me. N is for anywhere and anytime at all, right here in the Don Da Don. Frieren Beyond Journey's End is beautiful. That's definitely the strength everyone knows it for, so I'll start there before I go any deeper. This show looks stunning. Every scene is breathtaking. You will be left gobsmacked by a cutaway shot of a squirrel running up a tree. They don't ever slouch when it comes to the presentation. It's consistent even in the calm moments. And remember that, because it'll come back. On top of the stellar art direction, though, is a quite poignant story about the elf Frieren and the journey she went on 50 years ago. It's unorthodox, with all sorts of time skips and flashbacks, but it works. It gets me right in the heart, and I've been left with all sorts of feelings on it. At first, I thought Frieren was about the past, about how the past can guide you, and by choosing to remember and honor it, you learn from it. Your values come from your past, your knowledge comes from your past, all things that affect the current you. You might want to preserve what you had in the past, or you might want to do something different now. When we think about the past, we often think of it as unchangeable, because in a literal sense, it is. But what we can change is how we think about it. You can re-examine what it means to you, and most importantly, you can decide what you're going to do now. Your present is just your past that hasn't happened yet. Because that's the thing. Frieren isn't just reminiscing about that journey from her past. She's on a new journey right now. She has new friends and is learning new spells. That last adventure was 50 years ago. That can't be the only thing that matters. So then I started thinking that Frieren was about more than just the past. It was about the moment. As in moments in time. Every moment in time. There's so much value in every moment, even if it's not easily noticeable. Past moments are important, but so are the current moments and the moments coming in the future. Regardless of what's happening, every moment means something. That's why the show never drops its presentation for even a second, because every moment matters just as much as any other. I'm getting semantic satiation for the word moment now. And when I realized that, I started to appreciate everything. This sounds corny, I know, but I started to appreciate the detours in the journey, the side quests and the glimpses we get into other people's stories. I guess if I had to sum up the show, and I do for the sake of the video, I would say that Frieren is a show about learning to appreciate things. And that's just a generalization. This show does so much in its runtime that this is just one aspect of it I really related to. Having watched the show, I feel as though I've learned something. I genuinely think that watching this show has made me a better person. That I'm more appreciative of the little things, and perhaps more patient. And with that being said, I need Season 2. I cannot wait for Season 2. It's so close. It's only a few days away. Before moving on to Anime of the Year, I want to take a moment to appreciate these three together. Gachiakuta, Dandadan, and Frieren are series that I believe are like no other. I had a lot of trouble deciding what order they should go in. I even changed it last minute like 5 different times. It's hard to compare them with each other because my enjoyment of each is so fundamentally different. So even though this is what I've settled on, please understand it's like a hair's difference between them. It's been a great year for me in terms of anime. I made this video so I could share the love and hopefully get you to pick one of them up. Despite only being an anime fan for a few years, I love this medium and I don't think I'll ever stop loving it. I'm sure there are many more years to come in the future. When I look to that future and what I'm most excited about next, these three stand above the rest. There is a lot more to be excited about, and believe me, I am. This next season alone could be a lot of people's top 10 for 2026, and I have like 15 series to catch up on top of what's coming. But when it comes to what I want out of anime, what connects with me the most, what I think is pushing the medium forward, it's these three, by a considerable margin. When they get new seasons, I expect them to dominate every future top 10 I make. At least until the Splatoon anime gets announced. It's happening this year, baby, I just know it. But while these series are the pinnacles of what I'm looking forward to, if they want to be the very best, overcome my favorite anime of all time, they've got their work cut out for them. So here we are. One more to go. Do I need to make this dramatic? You know what I'm going to choose as number 1, don't you? Did you think I was going to choose something else just to have a fun surprise? No, that was never going to happen. Because where all of these shows today have shined, where all of them have proven why they're amazing, there is one show that goes beyond. My Hero Academia is the anime of the fucking year. Never before have I been so hyped. Never before have I been on the edge of my seat for an entire season of a show. This finale is everything. The hype moments in Aura, the characters having their final moment to show who they are and what they are capable of. A perfect wrap up of all loose ends, resolutions to every single one of MHA's themes. The animation is off the fucking chain, the voice acting has never been better. The music? Yuki Hayashi is a fucking wizard. I have listened to At the Limit and Butterfly Effect so many times in the last few weeks, and I will never get sick of them. Hell, they've milked You Say Run for 10 years and it still fucks. Every time I listen to the soundtrack, I feel the energy coursing through me, like I can do anything. I wrote this section of the video while listening to these songs. I'm recording these voice lines while listening to these songs, and I feel on fire. Nobody does it like My Hero, and this final season proves it. Hit after hit after hit. For this video, I'm not ranking the series as a whole, just the season that came out this year, but it still sweeps. So many shows fuck up the ending, but this, perfect. No notes whatsoever. When All Might said, "You too can be a hero," I felt something in me change. I felt something being set in motion, a story that would rock the fucking world, and you know what? It did. It has its detractors, sure, but anyone who has given it a chance will tell you it is a masterpiece. It has undoubtedly become my favorite anime of all time, and if you're out there and you haven't watched it yet, let this be a lesson. You are missing out, because this is what I live for. This is the pinnacle of storytelling. This is the height of greatness. This is why I love anime so much. This is the undisputed GOAT. This is the best that shonen has ever been. This is the fucking peak. Whew. Okay. Alright, I got that out of me. Let me do an actual piece now. My top anime of 2025 is My Hero Academia. And let's be honest, you saw this coming. I've already alluded to MHA in this video, and anyone who knows me personally will know how much I absolutely adore this series. I've made no attempt to hide it. For the record, I'm only considering the final season of MHA for this ranking, because it came out this year. But given how this is a culmination of the entire story so far, you can see how my feelings on the series as a whole are bleeding through here. My Hero Academia has always been a little bit special to me, and that's kinda crazy to say, because I started watching it in 2023. It's only been 2.5 years, yet this series feels like it's been part of my entire life. I was already an adult when I first gave this series a try. It has had its ups and downs throughout. Nothing I'd say I absolutely hated, but Season 5 was pretty eh. I think what impressed me the most about this final season is that my enjoyment did not drop once during the 11 episode run. There was not a single moment where I wasn't completely enraptured in what was going on. Everything from the action to the backstories and the feelings to all the loose character ends being tied up in the neatest of bows, the callbacks and references to earlier points of the story, it never stops being peak. Nothing felt drawn out or like it was wasting time. It was all necessary and it all delivered. And what a delivery it was. This series means so much to me because above all else, it's a show about kindness and caring about other people, which is something I really needed at this point in my life. It taught me that in order to live in a kinder world, I have to help. Because everyone can help. You don't need one for all, and you don't need any special powers or resources. You just have to be willing to do what you can when someone needs you. Because Even though philanthropy is great, and I wish that society could be upheld by a few kind-hearted souls, it takes everyone working together to create something that will last. And we shouldn't get ourselves bogged down with who helps more or shame people who don't help enough. What matters is that everyone gives the exact same amount, their best. If we all just do our best, then we'll all be the greatest heroes. So, let me show you that I'm taking this to heart, and give flowers to all of the heroes. Since MHA has a very good story, it's easy to focus your praise on the author, Kohei Horikoshi, and I do appreciate him greatly, but so many people have worked to make this a success, and I can't list them all, but let me try and at least hit as many groups as I can. Every animator that worked on this final season, I want them to know that I loved every single second of it. And not just the fights, which looked amazing. I mean everything. They've gotten me to cry so many times with their art, both here and throughout the entire series. I've already said my piece on Yuki Hayashi, but the weight of his score cannot be oversold. I have cried so many times re-listening to Might You, and his music brings out the best in every single scene it's a part of. The voice actors that work on this show bring out so much character and make emotional moments hit that much harder. They too have made me cry an uncountable number of times. And that goes for both sub and dub. I know that the Deku voice is a meme.
Yeah, you did. Fortunately, there was a man around to save you.
But I truly think Justin Briner is the perfect voice for Deku, and he kills it. And while I'm giving shoutouts, Chris Sabat and Ayane Sakura, who I think are the breakout roles, round of applause for your incredible performances. It takes a lot to make me cry. Not in the I'm tough and unshakable way, it's just something I don't do very often. MHA is the most I've cried at anything. It has made me cry out of both sadness and happiness, and you know what? I'm proud of that. Because Deku cries, and he is one of the world's greatest heroes. This final season is a testament to everything we've discussed so far today. The animators don't just go ham for every scene, they know exactly when they need to speed up and when to slow down. The voice actors know these characters, and they invoke so much emotion out of me. I cried during every single episode, and I'm not ashamed. I'm proud of that. I am so proud to be emotional, because when the credits rolled on that final episode, I had the biggest smile on my face. I was so happy I got to witness this incredible ending to a series I love so much. A series unlike any other, with a unique creative vision and a brilliantly unique story. A series that has characters I love so much, I gave money to Fortnite, because these characters brought me so much joy that it would be fun just to play as them. A series with a message that strikes me at my core and that has genuinely changed me as a person. When I lay it all out like that, there's no way this isn't my favorite of all time. I've dedicated myself to doing spoiler-free reviews for this video, but this is the final season of an almost 10-year show, so anything I say or allude to specifically could constitute as a spoiler. I've had to be pretty vigilant of what clips I show here, because I can only put so many Lancers on the screen. The reason I'm so cautious about this is because I don't want to rob you of a potential experience. If this speech, this ramble, is nothing else, I want it to be a declaration that you should give My Hero Academia a try. Maybe you were like me, and you saw vague criticisms of the fan base or how cringe it is, and you wrote it off. But I want to tell you with all my heart that there is so much more here than you think. And anyway, letting a fandom dictate what you don't personally experience is pretty lame. Thank you for watching. That's the first thing I want to say in the outro, because I really mean it. This video is way longer than I envisioned it being when I first started writing it. So, if you made it to the end, thanks. That means that you care at least somewhat about what I have to say. So, I hope that this video gave you something. Maybe like a new item for your watch list, or like a new way of looking at something. Or maybe you hated it, I don't know. Hi, by the way, I'm down here. My arm gave out after puppeting Mia for so long, so I'm lying on the floor. I started working on this video last year, if you could believe it. And ever since then, I've just been working away at it in my free time, few hours a day, and we are finally here. Early April. Ha. Ha 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 ha. I originally ended this script with a Happy New Year, but I kind of feel like I've missed... Maybe I've missed the timing on that a little bit. Like, would it still be okay to just include like a Happy New Year? Probably not, right? Be sure to like the video. I mean, if you liked it. Again, like I said, maybe you didn't like it. In which case... I mean, I guess you can dislike it if you want. I won't take it personally. Also, I'm not gonna ask you to subscribe, because I do not know when my next video is coming out. I have a few video ideas that I'm, like, workshopping in my head, so I'll probably make them eventually. But... oh, actually, no. Deltarune Chapter 3... like, the playthrough me, Steph, and Liam are doing. I recorded those months ago, and I've just been too busy with this. Those are coming out soon. But yeah, other than that, hope you enjoyed, and happy new April. #SplatoonAnime 2026. See ya.